Like, check out this bloom lighting and everything.
Yeah, dude. I had a lot of fun with this. These turrets look sick.
Mm-hmm.
It was really great. And you know what's even better is the game looks amazing when you run it now.
Okay. Like in the player or with the build?
Actually, in the player is good. The build also looks great, but the player is pretty clutch.
Yeah, it looks good. There's some jaggies on the tank.
There's some jaggies on the tank, yeah. The jaggies are better. Here, I'll open up the most recent build I made because I think it's basically like bit by bit getting sort of like worse in Unity. There's still some jaggies on the tank, but
Yeah, this looks pretty good though. Is this full
even
screen?
higher quality. This is full screen, yeah.
Wow. Nice.
And check out that chromatic aberration on the edges. Oh yeah,
Oh, wow. What does chromatic aberration mean?
it's a lens imperfection where instead of all the colors, it's like you start to see the red, green, and blue channels get split.
Oh, interesting.
And you can see a little bit on the edges of the cube too, where
Yeah.
there's a hint of a purple and a green, which just looks so cool. And it's only there the further you are from the center of the lens, it gets worse.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, dude. I mean, exciting. I turned on the Unity defaults. It looks really good. It was like it was the touch of polish that makes it look like a real ass game.
Yeah. Did I send you an article about what Bloom is and how it works?
In the past, yeah.
Um, does the general idea of a screen space post processing effect make sense to you?
Sort of. The thing I'm not clear on with this is it's a volume, and you can have multiple volumes, and it's sort of like you might like right now we have a global one, but you might want different volumes doing different things. So like
Right.
I'm not quite clear on the metaphor they're using. Or like with what's 3D. I totally get camera filter. Camera filter makes sense, but this is like more of a 3D effect than I thought it was.
Right. A lot of these post processing effects, the name kind of gives it away, and the fact that you stick it on the camera also gives it away. Is
Mhm.
operating on what's available in screen space rather than world space. Any kind of like depth effect is gonna be kind of simulated and fake. Um, and there's a lot of different screen space effects that we've been kind of thinking about inadvertently all at the same time. I mean, obviously there's the bloom. Um, Anti-aliasing ish is kind of like, oh, that's cool. Um, the other one that we talk about a bit is the outline shader. Do you remember how we were both experimenting with like how do you get
Yes.
like an outline around things?
Hmm.
And that one kind of gives you a sort of a clue into how you can kind of cheat world space concepts in screen space.
Hmm.
And it's because we're writing properties to every single pixel. It's not just the color that we're writing. We also have a screen size buffer for depth, which is not 100% the same thing as the z depth of that pixel, but it's close. So you can kind of get a sense of like how far things are, how far each pixel is from the camera.
Hmm.
Um, and you can also write the normals to a buffer too. And so for every pixel, you can say, well, for that pixel, which face am I actually drawing, and what is the normal on that face at that point? Um, and I think over Slack we were talking about deferred shading, right, or deferred lighting, where
Yep.
everything is all the lighting calculations are happening in screen space rather than world space, and the
Which
way that you can get
it turns out there's just a button for that. Like it's just right here.
yeah. Um, I think there's both one for the camera and one for the entire game, and I'm not sure how it
Hmm.
works. My sense is with the camera is that what's happening is that the camera is providing a render texture that everything is like rendered into, and then the camera is then doing some shit to that texture, and that texture is actually what's getting written out to the frame buffer, rather than it's basically there's stuff stuck in between the world render and the actual screen itself, right?
Yeah. It's I continue to enjoy how much power we have.
Yeah. So
I
for
think
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say one of the things that sort of made sense to me in terms of post-processing volumes too is like a water effect. Like it's a volume you enter and the camera post-processing changes. That was like the one example that's like clear in my head.
Mm-hmm. So for Bloom, what Bloom is doing is it's saying there's a notion of a kernel in shaders, or like compute shaders also have this notion of a kernel, and that is essentially the unit of data that a particular execution of a shader is working on. And so traditionally, like the kernel for a fragment shader, if you're doing like OpenGL 101, is just the current pixel that you're on, right? Or the kernel for the vertex shader is just the vertex that you're on. But what you can do is obviously sample other textures while you're inside of the shader. And so what you're really doing with Bloom is you're saying, okay, I know my current coordinate on the screen because it's essentially like the UV on the quad. Like basically there's like a quad that's getting rendered and I know my current UV coordinate. I'm going to use that UV and read another texture, which is basically the original screen that was there, but I'm basically going to like look at my neighboring pixels. It's not the neighboring pixels that are being rendered. It's like another image that got rendered that I'm using as a source piece of data, right? And so what it's doing here is like, imagine that we've rendered the scene without bloom lighting, right? And then we're rendering the pixels that are like right next to the edge of something that's lit neon red or neon green.
Yep.
What you can do is say like, okay, if the color, any of the pixels around the one that I'm currently processing has some color value that's over a certain threshold, I actually want to take that color and blend it a little bit with the current the background color that is currently rendered into that texture at the pixel location that I'm currently at. Does that make sense? So essentially what's happening is we have a giant, like our fragment shader is essentially a giant for loop over every pixel on the screen. And at every single like iteration of that loop, we're looking at neighboring pixels, finding the ones that are brighter than a certain threshold, which is essentially just some uniform value, and then blending that color value into the current color of the pixel that we're on.
And it's interesting because this only works for emissive material, so it's like only things that are theoretically producing light, even though we're not in the like the full screen space reflection pipeline. But it is using that property for determining what I guess is. It's not like the brightest pixels; it's like the pixels casting the most that are casting light. Is that what it is? Maybe what this one's doing.
Yeah, I'm not like. If something is emissive, that might be something you like that is defined in Unity's standard shader model. Like Unity has this notion of a standard shader, and it's this like incredibly massive shader with a bunch of different like properties and stuff. It's supposed to be like everything to all people, and I think that's actually what we're running right now, right?
That makes sense.
We're running a standard shader, yeah.
Here's the example, which is like,
yeah,
I guess the standard shader knows what to do with that, and that's cool.
So it's possible that the emission material is causing the standard shader to write emission color into a separate buffer. And then that buffer is what we're sampling to do the bloom, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, yeah. And I assume if we had any other sort of light source, it might work the same way, where point lights would suddenly get bloomier.
Yeah. Now, every bloom tutorial that I've read, which is like 2, so it's not like I have massive knowledge around this, always talks about bloom in the context of HDR, which I don't think we have going on right now.
No, I don't think that's what this is. Yeah.
HDR, I'm not sure. I think you have to enable it essentially globally, because what you're telling the GPU is like, I'm going to allow RGB values that go over 1. And that is a lighting thing, right? Like that basically, or a material thing. So I don't know if it's a setting at the material level or if it's a setting at the lighting level. Like you basically say, this particular pixel actually has an intensity in either the red, green, or blue channel that is higher than 1. And if you don't do any tone mapping over that, you're just going to get a white pixel there. And so if you don't actually have tone mapping on something that's rendering HDR, you're just going to see a lot of like overexposed, blown out stuff, right? Now, how the actual tone mapping works, I don't really know. I'm sure there's people that have done like perceptual studies of like how, or maybe it can vary. But essentially, what you're doing with the HDR is doing some kind of like, I'm going to cram the range of like whatever the range of the color value is that's higher than 1 into a space that is between 0 and 1. And I think in the modern day, it's up to it's now gotten to the point where like the physical device will do it for you, right? That's why you have an HDR TV, right?
Yeah, and it's so weird. I think it's one of those things that people are like, oh, you'll know it when you see it. And I'm just not sure if I've ever seen it.
Right.
Like, I don't think I have a very good HDR TV, so I'm not sure if I'm experiencing the thing or if my colors are just not that bright. And it's really strange,
HDR
'cause
does not work well for me on my TV.
No, and you can't like send someone a video and it's like, here's what it's supposed to look like because it's the wrong display medium. So like, I'm so skeptical. Maybe like my next TV will make me happier with HDR.
Right. The other popular screen space effect that people do in post-processing is something called ambient occlusion. And I think we actually get ambient occlusion for free in yeah.
So what is this? We got it. What's it do?
So ambient occlusion, it is the way that it's not shadows per se, but it makes like corners and cracks and things that are in between two large faces, that darkens them along those areas. And this is actually a relatively new thing. I think they started using it in like CryEngine, like Far Cry 2 or something like that. Which isn't that long, not that long ago. I feel like it was like mid-aughts that they started using this. Which I guess is the demarcation of when GPUs got powerful enough to have fragment shaders that could do this kind of thing, right?
Oh, I've seen this in games. I've seen like a very strange halo around a model.
Yeah, actually,
that kind of resembles this.
Our current rendering is not going to give you a great sense of ambient occlusion. If you go to the Wikipedia article on ambient occlusion, it'll show you sort of like flat colored models that have ambient occlusion applied to them. And it'll give you a little bit of a better sense of what this effect looks like.
Am I on German Wikipedia? Nope.
Yeah, so you look at that middle one. All of these things are being rendered flat, but you can kind of see that there's sort of shadows going on there, and they were able to fake it somehow.
Interesting.
Because otherwise, the only other way you can do shadows...
Like the shadows on the pillars that are like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the pillars aren't casting full shadows, but like the only other way that you can really do this is to actually do the math, right? Like with shadows, you have to like cast a ray. You basically have to ray trace, or you have to do some faked version of ray tracing. And screen space ambient occlusion is like the fakest possible form of ray tracing because everything is happening in, as the name says, screen space.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Remember how I was telling you how there's a depth buffer and how you basically know the relative Z positions? What you're basically doing is for any given position, you're scanning the Z values around your current pixel. And if they vary in a certain way, and if the normals are in a certain way, you can kind of say, well, we're sort of in a crack, or we're sort of in between two things. And I'm just going to darken the color there.
That's really clever.
Yeah, okay. It's very, very clever.
Huh. And it takes this, I see. So this is like the flat render, the occlusion, and you have this nice sort of thing. Looks like actually you did a very detailed.
Yeah. Now what's a little bit interesting is I've heard that like real life, you can just sort of debunk screen space ambient occlusion. Like are you sitting in a well-lit room right now? And you like, if you look at like the corner of where your ceiling meets the two walls,
it's not darker.
That's not darker in that corner, but ambient occlusion will render that a little bit darker. Right.
Gotcha. And like perhaps it's better for like this got darker even though it probably doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
It's probably better for like very dynamic and unreal environments where you don't notice.
I think it's close enough to what people's eyes expect that it just makes everything look better. Or either that or like maybe in 10 years we'll get used to a different shading model and ambient occlusion will look really cheesy. But you look at an ambient occluded space that just doesn't have any, or a render that doesn't have any colors, and it looks really good, right? It looks like it's got depth over what we normally expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Cool. And I guess I guess the kind of name gives it away. Like, it's screen space and it's ambient occlusion, and the occlusion basically is you scanning for occluders around you, basically normals and depths in the area around your current pixel.
Gotcha. And I guess this is a very cheap post processing step versus doing proper ray tracing. So that makes a lot of sense.
It's cheap relative to ray tracing, yes, but this is also one of the things that you can turn on and off on in most games because it's not the cheapest thing in the world.
Like control is really interesting because I guess I assume that maybe some of it's shadows and some of it is just. I remember this game being one that they talked about a lot on too. I didn't know what it was, but maybe for all their blocky corridors, it's actually really nice to get a better shadow map or depth illusion with this.
Yeah, Control. They always talk about Control having ray tracing in it, and I don't know what it is.
Only on the PS5 version. Yeah.
Only on the PS5 version and PC, but I'm not sure if they're doing full ray tracing for the rendering or they're mixing in ray tracing effects in some way. Because I would think that GPUs still aren't quite powerful enough to do full ray tracing for everything. And how you mix it in together, I'm not sure.
Oh wow, this is dramatic as fuck.
Yeah.
Huh.
What is this? This is like ray tracing versus ambient occlusion?
No, this is SSO on and off.
Yes. You see how it kind of fakes shadows underneath the papers and stuff like that?
Well, it's really interesting because I know that actual shadows are pretty expensive to compute, but these things are basically like a particle effect for them that they blow up everywhere. So this seems like a great way to manage that.
Yeah.
Clever. Right, because these are the shadows over here, and these things look totally unlit until you do that.
Right.
That's very smart.
Yeah. Super clever.
When it's a constant cost function, no matter how much shit you throw on the screen, right? You just do a pass.
That's right. I think that's the advantage of doing stuff in screen space in general. Is you're just pretty much every call to you want as little variation as possible in every single call to your shader.
Yeah, because you can budget for this every frame and call it a day.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And cool. We were also talking about deferred shading in general, right? Where deferred shading, it not only is the ambient occlusion being calculated, it's the lighting itself is being calculated in screen space.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. It does look better. It's like a little wrong. Like these shadows aren't perfect, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah. You get a lot of mileage out of that effect, which is incredible. Yeah. Graphics people are insane. They're just like, I can come up with these crazy ideas, and then on top of that, they can say I'm going to come up with this crazy idea for a piece of hardware that seems like super oblique, but we're going to bake it into everybody's GPU so that I can do this from now on. Those are multi-billion-dollar decisions just for random effects that people may decide they don't need in 2 years,
Isn't that weird? Yeah, I wonder what the track record is for that stuff sticking around or not.
Right.
This is the ray tracing down here, right? The actual reflection of.
So there are other ways of doing those types of effects with reflections and things.
That's true. It could just be a cube map, right?
Yes. And what is your understanding of a cube map? I have a very hand-wavy understanding of it, but I'm curious how you think of it.
My understanding is basically you photograph the static elements of your scene and print them on the inside of a cube in reverse. And there's no depth to them, but when you sort of throw it on the surface as a reflection, you basically get the reflection. And you blur it so no one notices that it's totally flat.
Right. Yeah, I think that's roughly my understanding too. Yeah. In fact, it's generally pre-baked. I don't know is there such a thing as a dynamic cube map where you render the cube map. You essentially render your scene 6 times from 6 different angles. And then rather than doing again, this is faking the ray tracing. Rather than doing the full ray trace, you just say, okay, I'm just going to draw a line between my surface and the nearest cube map. And I'm going to take that and distort it and then mix it in with the other color that's on that texture based on the reflectivity of the material that is there. And even that seems like super expensive, but it's not as expensive as ray tracing, right?
Doing actual rays, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Cool. Well, we are now in a post-processing world.
Does the ground have reflectivity on it now? What am I seeing? What effect am I seeing on the floor here?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
You know what it is? It's probably just streaming artifacts, but it looks good. The ground kind of grays out as it moves toward the horizon for me.
Yeah, you know, that seems to be... It's weird. I would really love to have some sort of reflectivity in here because I think it would look sick if the ground were metal and the tank were kind of casting some light above it.
Yeah.
It's strange to me that it shows up sort of in this view and not in the actual game.
Well, what, you want to mess with the levers and see what happens?
Yeah, I would mess with some levers. I assume it is in fact like this sort of stuff, metallic and smoothness.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the kind of thing where maybe we're not at the right camera angle to see it.
I've been wondering that. Yeah. What was I gonna try? I was gonna take the blue glow and give this some real-time reflection or real-time illumination and see what we got, because this should be the player. Oh yeah, they're actually... No, I can't tell.
I can't really tell either, but
I was gonna zoom in on it. Yeah, it's weird. It's like not even the angle of the camera at this point. It's so strange. You're really up close to this box. Yeah, I'm largely confused by... I think we need to like do a little material science ourselves on this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'm actually thrilled with just how the rest of this came out. So
yeah. Oh, did you just enable HDR on a material right there? I think that maybe answers one of their questions.
Did not. Okay, so
because it says HDR. Oh, HDR emission. I see.
Yeah, it's really weird to me. Like, I see it's offering me a texture. Yeah, it gives us HDR color, and you can sort of get plus or minus intensity.
Yeah.
Not quite sure about that either.
Yeah, I mean the intensity is for thresholding, and maybe also there's some linear scaling factor, or there's some scaling factor that comes from the intensity, like how far from one you are will give you how big the bloom is, something like that.
Boy, I really would like to rotate the camera, but it doesn't want to. Yeah, I think that is correct.
Are you using your trackpad right now?
No, I'm on my Magic Mouse.
Oh, isn't orbiting hold Alt?
That is what I was hitting, and it was giving me the screen flash of
shit.
you're crazy. So
okay.
Oh well, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, sick. This game it just looks so good now. I love it.
I noticed all the mirror things started popping up, and it's a little disappointing to me.
Mm-hmm.
All those icons.
I mean, just hit the gizmo button and we're back to it.
Oh.
But then you lose the spawn points, which are gizmos as well.
I see. I like that the tank got smaller. Feels a little bit more manageable now.
Tank got smaller. Yeah, all our materials, all our models use the exact same system. There's no longer a secondary wireframe renderer in here, which was sorry about that.
No, it was worth experimenting with.
It was a good experiment, yeah.
But maybe cumbersome? I don't know.
I deleted the entire thing from it's not in our vendor anymore either. Like,
yeah,
we can always reinstall it. We own it.
I'm into it.
Seems fine. Yeah, I've also I have busted up a bunch of things in the scene hierarchy, which I don't know if you played with this at all or not.
I took a quick look and then I had to do something else. This is all very fresh though. It's hot off the presses.
hot off the presses. Yeah, like the game starts now.
Okay.
And this is I just replaced their HUD with one that does all the same functions, except that I haven't wired these up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Wait, is that the same HUD, or did you create your own UI widgets for it?
it's our own UI.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
How was the
yeah,
UI
we're
design
in
process?
awful. Uh, truly atrocious.
Yeah.
Let me pop over to the.
You gonna write a React Native plugin for
Oh
Unity?
God, hell no, no way, no way, no how. Yeah, it uses kind of a springs and struts model where you can stretch stuff or align it to the
Oh,
corners,
okay.
but I find springs and struts really annoying. But it works. There's also a declarative way to do this in code where you can do like GUI GUI layout. There we go. And this is very strange, but maybe worth using. Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've looked at this at all or not.
I haven't. So they're trying to do a kind of immediate mode UI here.
Yes.
It seems like.
So this is what really the way if statements work. Like,
Yeah.
this is the callback to the button on the screen.
It's so funny. Like, immediate mode UI makes sense to me, except for the way people do input handling. Because like the design of React was, I think, sort of inspired by immediate mode UI, but like every immediate mode UI tutorial that I've ever seen does buttons like this, where the render call and the input happen the same way. And I am not in love with it.
No. Is this what Ship-T or what was the other Java one? They both kind of work like this, don't they?
I don't know about Java. Like the one that I'm aware of most prominently is Dear IM GUI, which is the C++ one that everybody uses.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Java immediate. I feel like I've done one in Java a bunch, but it was ancient and hopefully gone. Is this the one you were talking about, Dear IM GUI? Okay. Yeah, never encountered that. This is weird. So yeah.
One of the earliest things I ever saw on IMGUI was actually our boy Casey Muratori doing like it's kind of this adorable slideshow where he's just like, he's got these like posters on an easel that he's like removing and he's written down notes, on them. I don't know what he shot it with too. It's really grainy, but this is like the early 2000s. And he was talking about the advantages of immediate mode versus retained mode UI. And he also had this if button kind of paradigm where like the return value of the button function is the state of the button. I guess if you think about it that way, if it's like the state of the button, I'm uncomfortable with that. The only state on the button is a Boolean. That's off or on, right?
I mean, that is a button, but yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. Instead, I did it. I dragged and dropped and just aligned it myself, and there's callbacks to a game object, which is
got it.
Fine. Yeah.
Well, thank you for trudging through this. This is sort of the unsexy side of Unity, I'm sure. The UI stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things we have on our splash screen now is the ability to choose how the game starts.
Okay.
Including not. So none is the game starts normally. Start as host is just it skips through everything, hits the host button, and start as client is the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah, its start as host is committed right now, but there's like a song and a dance to make this happen. So this object has a don't destroy all nodes script, which is just it's what it says on the tin, but we can add it as a component now instead of having to write it into each script.
Yeah,
and then. The first thing it does, it loads up. I should pull up some scripts. Oh yeah, and there's a management folder now because there's just a bunch of these files. VS Code? Come on, VS Code. Hey. By the way, my VS Code just worked perfectly all day yesterday and today. Like auto completed everything. It was
Sweet.
delightful. Uh, who knows? So
My
anyway,
next VS Code adventure right now is figuring out how to get semantic highlighting on, because I find myself missing. I've just done so much JavaScript recently that, like, when I work inside classes, I want to know the difference between an instance variable and a local variable, and an instance variable and an
oh
argument.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Um, because there's no enforcement of having to call this or self in C sharp, nor for Ruby for that matter. But for some reason, I've just gotten used to languages that require you to do that.
Could we? Can we lint that? Can we like disallow
Like force
local
explicit
variable?
this. I'm sure we
Yeah,
can. You'd have to actually write a Roslyn analyzer for it, but maybe one exists out there.
that's
Um,
like a good default rule because, gosh, I prefer that as well.
I think it works, except like 90% of the problem is reading other people's code, like
Mm,
open source software. Like when I was looking through the mirror source code, like that's where like kind of like comprehension becomes important when you're reading like stuff that you didn't write.
yep.
And you can't force a coding convention on that code unless you want to go through there and manually correct it. However, it turns out that the LSP server for C Sharp knows the difference between local variables, arguments, and instance
Nice.
variables. So I think you just need to configure your theme to support it, and you can get it.
Okay. Well,
It's
that's
it's
really
a
cool.
minor paper cut in the long run, but I don't know. Like it'd be a nice thing to take a look at. Because right now everything is just some shade of cyan on your screen right now, and it's like,
It sure
yeah,
is. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway, yeah, as I say, the splash screen starts. It's awake, just checks for the debug thing, looks for one of those variables, and immediately transitions scenes. The network menu does the same because this debug object is don't destroy and load. It's always available, so things start looking for it,
yeah.
which is interesting. Do have to do some null checks because if you start this scene up without the previous scene going first, this just won't be here, and you have to be prepared for it not to be there.
Yeah.
It's fine. Otherwise, this immediately pushes through. And then the weird thing is the level manager, which is what we get on our actual game scene. And this looks for both a debug object and the network manager. And
Yeah.
if they're both null, it goes back to the splash screen and starts from scratch. So when you hit play on our scene here, it's going to load this scene, load the splash screen, load the network menu, and then immediately jump into the game via the debug shortcut.
Right.
But you can just hit play on the screen. So that's what I wanted.
This is great.
Yeah, it's like a bit of spaghetti piping, but also like there's no reason to have piped anything this way in the real world. So I feel okay that it's spaghetti.
I kind of wonder what the quote unquote right way to do this eventually will be. Like if we have like a giant stack of screens, that are all scene transitions, what's the right way to manage that?
Yeah, I also wonder. Also, I noticed that my computer just got really slow, and I think it's because VS Code is just analyzing something. Sorry about the frame rate.
It's when you
I
add
think
it's when you added zoom into the whole mix.
Zoom's not helping with the problem, but I see analyzing Unity timeline editor just hanging out down here in Mono Agent going to town. So
Good times.
I hope hopefully that'll work in a minute. Now I know that I need to start the VS Code editor before we stream.
Yeah.
All good. Um, so yeah, so one of the main things, there's no more network manager in the level. It's gone. Network manager lives on the network menu and is instantiated here as don't destroy unload, which is,
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, it's different. It also it makes sense to me where the thing that controls these buttons is what needs to set up a network manager for you.
Yes. Okay, so network menu.
Network menu contains our buttons, a tiny script for itself that's like hitting the buttons that used to be the debug
Got
HUD,
it. Okay.
and then the network manager that looks exactly like our old one. And the reason this is not the splash screen is because I wanted a fully offline scene that would reinstantiate the network manager on disconnect. So if you ever get kicked,
right,
you pop back to the offline screen, which is this, and then you should get a fresh network manager when you come in. That's I think the correct paradigm.
Yes. Otherwise, isn't the network manager like by default long-lived?
Yeah, and I think it still is. It still doesn't destroy and load. I'm
Okay.
not sure what happens when you get a disconnect. It might blow itself up.
Yeah, and it's always like a subtle distinction between whether or not you destroy an object versus you have a reset method on that object. I'm not sure what Mirror's model is.
Yeah, it is good at like Mirror won't create two of them.
Yeah.
It immediately like says like this already exists. I'm just not going to make a second one. So I think it's safe to do if we end up going through the same path twice.
I did spend some time reading Mirror's code, just trying to get a handle on some basic things, and they certainly prefer silent, like failing open rather than failing closed, which is honestly not my preferred mode of operation.
It's a little frustrating for like a network thing where I'd really like to know what's happening.
Well, I want to know if I structure things correctly. And if it's gonna like fail open all over the place, that means that I'm not learning the lessons that I should be learning, you know?
Yeah, I tried to use the network room manager. I don't know if you've looked at this yet.
Mm-mm.
I couldn't make it work. I didn't want to copy and paste their code and just bring it in, but it's supposed to set up a lobby for you and like manage a bunch of lobby stuff.
Okay.
The nice thing is it's just an extension on network manager, so we can do it ourselves. There's no magic sauce there.
Yeah. I don't think any of this stuff is super magical when you get right down to it. I did create as I was making Trello tickets, I did create one that like made my head start to hurt a little bit, which is doing knockback or impact motion. Because all of our collisions are resolved on the server, which kind of means that like I don't know what Mirror's model is of like applying impulses to or applying like position changes on client authoritative objects.
That's a really good question. Yeah. How? But if you hit a bullet and it knocks you back, won't you be pretty close to what the server thinks you should be? It won't be like there's a missing knockback. It's just
but the bullet collision is currently only ever determined on the server.
Oh.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is predicting the hit, and we don't do any prediction of any kind right now.
Gotcha. Does Mirror support any, or are we out of luck there?
You can do prediction. I don't think there's anything about Mirror's primitives that prevents you from doing prediction. I guess the question is like I think the question is similar to the one that I started with, which is like if you do prediction, that means you are server authoritative in the long run, but client authoritative in the short run. And I don't know how to mix those two modes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. There is no handoff of authority here. And we can't, I feel like we don't have the primitive for deferring to someone else's data.
Yeah. Can you Google ML API FPS sample?
Yeah.
So that deep dive into networking for Unity's FPS sample game, this is a guide to the FPS sample that is advertised on Unity's homepage.
Nice.
And there is source code for this. It doesn't work on anything older than Unity 2018 or anything newer than 2018. So it's basically abandonware.
Okay.
But the principles are there. And if you watch this talk, I actually fell asleep halfway through it because I wasn't following it and it was late at night. But like their whole mechanism for prediction is super confusing and
Okay.
Potentially over-engineered.
Basically
but
mirror, right?
They're using ML API, but I think the concepts are not super far. Like it has a notion of a server RPC and a client RPC. There's just less that's fleshed out in ML API. But it is their like official non-ECS networking solution. But yeah, they have all kinds of things. But there's source code for this game that they made, this FPS game, which unfortunately only runs on Unity 2018. But I could get a copy of Unity 2018 and just like run it. But it's pretty well fleshed out, and they've got a lot of stuff in it. But they have a whole prediction model here. But it's quite complicated.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah. But there's also source code available on GitHub, which is nice. They at least like talk about it. And they only predict certain things. It's interesting. They don't predict the whole world the way we were doing in Manchester. They just predict
seems right, yeah.
player movement and projectiles, basically.
Okay.
And I think a lot of shooting in like FPS games, sometimes like weapons are what are called like hit scan weapons, where you determine whether you hit as soon as you press the button, right? Rather than actually model the ballistics. But if we want to do prediction, I think this is where I'm getting at it. Is we could probably we don't have to switch to ML API, but we could like study this and see how they do prediction and see like what this could possibly mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do we? Yeah, gosh, I haven't dug into all the mirror stuff yet. It feels there are some powerful hooks for us to get into, and I wonder like if we can ask what frame we're on and what frame the server thinks it is, and yada yada yada. So
right, the closest thing I've ever seen to prediction that sort of resembles like disagreement between the client and server, which is like the fundamental problem that we're talking about. The closest thing I've seen in Mirror is network transform interpolation. So if you go to the Mirror manual, they talk about interpolation, but it was a little bit perplexing to me because when I think about interpolation, I think of the client being ahead, like behind the server, but the client is ahead of the server in a client authoritative world. So I wasn't quite sure what they meant by that.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. They do some kind of like smoothing between the client and server in a manner that I didn't fully comprehend.
Snapshot. Okay. Weird.
But in any case, I think if we go back to the thing that the question that got us on this whole tangent is knockback. And there's a more basic question, which is like, can we have the server say, hey, you need to do a little bit of knockback right now? And is it the server moving the object, or the server just saying, hey, knockback with this vector, and then the client does it, and then it round trips back to the server? I don't know like what the right way of doing that would be. We don't have to solve it right now. I think that's just like an interesting question that I thought of in a world where we're not predicting hits at all.
Yeah. No, it really is. Damn. Okay. Try mark this one is done. We kind of got it.
I
guess I'll put it in the column. We have a button for that now.
Are those checkered labels? I love it.
These are visual. They're colorblind labels, so each color gets a different.
That's great.
Yeah, they just do this.
Are you colorblind, or you just added it because it was easier to read?
Honestly, I think it's a better interface.
Yeah, I think I agree.
What's the button for big labels? I forget. Oh, there you go.
What was the button?
Yeah, it's like you just click on the little dot. With smaller labels, I think it just reads better for me.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh man, it drove me crazy. Like, you know how you can use the numbers to assign labels? but
Oh
they're
yeah.
like they're in a fixed order based on color,
Hmm.
so you can't define
Hmm.
your own ordering. I wanted one to be the bug one all the time because you would think that'd be the most popular one, you know. But bugs have to be
No,
red. That's the only color for
is it?
bugs.
I was gonna say it's weird because I was like, oh, I know what color bugs are. Bugs are four.
Yeah, they are four.
I have that. I have that just built in to
It's
my
your
memory at this
Trello
point.
muscle memory. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. What should we add to the game today?
Um. We can build turrets,
Build turrets. Oh, okay.
which means we need to do affiliation and that kind of thing. We may
Affiliation.
even want to color the turrets differently. Maybe have some color-based alignment, which means we need to know how to programmatically change material colors.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it should we do a thing where like you see your alignment is blue and the enemy alignment is red? I feel like did StarCraft do that where like you were always the blue team basically?
I don't think that that's true. Like in StarCraft, at least the sprites have a feature color on them.
Hmm. Oh,
Um,
sorry, but I'm saying that the alignment you saw was not both players didn't see the same alignment. They saw like themselves as one color and the other person as the opposite color.
I don't think that's true. At least in
Is
StarCraft
that not true?
One,
Okay.
like you could be like a maroon color, and I remember playing as like the maroon team. Now on the mini map,
That's fair.
your units are all bright green in the mini
Mm-hmm.
map, and that is for visibility's sake. Like you want to see the most like you want that to jump
Yep.
out to you. Um, which is actually what kind of drives me insane about the Ascent. On the mini map, you don't have a special color for yourself.
It is literally the worst mini map I've ever experienced. Um, it's probably all of these are probably the map is terrible.
Yeah, I've been playing.
Wait, I just like this is not the map.
No,
Have you been playing? Have
you're
you played
talking
more
about
of
an
it?
in-game map, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I mean, even this map, whatever local map they give you is also pretty bad.
Yeah,
There's see, I forgot this button existed already.
yeah.
It's
I map
probably
that to middle
critical.
click. I just hit it all the time. My brother and my brother-in-law and I got to what we think is the final encounter of the game. Um,
Ah, nice.
and I think the way that like enemy spawning works in multiplayer is like if you have three people, you have three times the number of enemies. It's just complete mayhem, and
Holy shit.
we're kind of stuck there. Because it's like really really hard.
Oh, oh, this map. Oh,
Yeah,
it's nonsense.
maps are really hard, and
Hmm.
they ran into that issue pretty. I mean, the problem is it's not abstract enough, right? You need maps to be iconic, and this is too representative, right?
It's very generic and also it represents a like there's multiple tiers and they're
Yeah,
not defined how many tiers there are and they're just all layered in here and you're just supposed to figure it out.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
it's
rendered in 3D, but it's basically a 2D map in terms of the information density, you know?
yeah. Yeah, this thing murdered me. I mean, Control also had the worst map in the world for exactly the same reasons.
Yes.
Like this thing that is like a multi-layered, many-faceted, like, you know, Cthulhu government building. And it's just like, no, here's a 2D map. But don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't help that the environments in Control are completely samey, you know?
Right.
Which
Yeah.
tonally
Like
works, but it's just a bear to get around in that game. Thank God
so
for the fast
complicated.
travel, right?
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be possible otherwise. Okay, I just realized my computer's getting worse, and it's because I'm streaming something on top of it. Or I had Twitch on top of it on a very hot laptop. I did the thing.
Oh,
I
do you
heated it
need
up too
do
much.
you need to get an ice pack or anything?
I'm gonna go get an ice pack for my bruised ego. Yeah.
Sweet. I love it.
I found out that my moving truck gets here on Thursday.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my desk, my nice laptop stand that keeps it upright and well ventilated. I have
Does
my,
the
my
does the
microphone.
does the moving truck come with humans that will help you move stuff to their proper location?
Damn well better. Paid a lot of money for them.
Well, did they empty your apartment to begin with?
They did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I paid someone to empty the apartment and put it on a truck. They better bring it all back in.
Yep.
Uh, the only thing I actually care about, they need to take like my mattress and my standing desk upstairs. Everything else they can like leave it on the ground floor. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I would like one manual labor for that.
Yeah, I bet you're stoked for this. Is that the tail end of your window or is it past the end of the window?
They missed it. They missed it by 2 days, which
Okay, that's fine.
is like, yeah, I was gonna say it's fine. I'm a little disappointed, but also for moving companies, I've heard such worse horror stories.
Yeah, man. I when I moved out of New York, it was right in the middle of the hurricane, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to get out of New York City.
Which one, Sandy?
Sandy, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
like apparently no gasoline.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the movers do get a pass. Maybe they had to stop for 2 days because of the actual hurricane that just came through, and if so, it is forgiven.
Yep. Yep.
There's the rest of the chorus coming on. Phew. Great. You were fine. You were just a very low frame per second, Jeff. Much better. You still there?
I'm
Okay,
still
good.
here. So let's figure out how to change the material colors.
Yeah, I like that. We may change material color. Well, it's not the color. It's we're gonna change the material itself.
We could do that too.
I mean, it's a little silly that I made one glow material for each thing. So it would be nice to have a like, yeah.
The question is if you change the material color, does it change it for everybody that's attached to that material, or does the material get instanced somehow per mesh?
That's a really, really good question.
If it were instancing, it would be very magical and kind of annoying, I think.
Get the rend. Okay. Well, let's find out.
Yeah, you could change the material color on the tree, for example, or the wall or something like that. Or the turret.
Yeah.
The turret probably is the easiest one to do it for because you already have a script.
So that's true. So I'm going to give the turret the same blue material in the prefab that our player is using, and then we're going to change it.
Okay, I see.
And then we should only see one of them change, right?
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's open up that turret script. Did you not see this getting slower? Is it like broadcasting and my screen is just chugging, or?
I believe you when it's slower, but it's always just a little bit choppy, and honestly, it wasn't super noticeable over here. So
that's great. No, I'm glad it's not. Yeah, maybe it's that my computer starts to resemble the Zoom stream.
Yep.
Cool. All right, let's see. So we probably want a awake for this. Awake. Is this actually on network start? Where's the function?
There's start server and start client. I'm not sure.
Okay. Probably awake is fine.
Awake is fine.
Yeah. And then our turret does have a renderer. So it's a little
tricky.
It's a little tricky. Yeah, I was gonna say this. Oh, okay. The prefab turret does have a mesh renderer for the root node on it. Cool. That's great. Yeah, I guess we can go through all the children. We could also assign We can make a list of everything that we want to keep track of or that we want to modify. Maybe that's the easiest thing, is to make a list of components that we are going to change and get their renderers. Cool. All right. So public game object. Can you do it like that?
I think so. Yeah.
By the way, the don't recompile mid-play was the best thing that happened to me this weekend.
It's really annoying, right?
It's really, really, really annoying.
Yeah.
Where's my script? There we go. Oops. Now I'll go back. Cool. So I can take these. Can I? I see. You have to add it, and then I can drag and drop. Beautiful.
So the question I have is this going to point to its own instances of this, or is it going to point to the prefab versions of these things?
Damn. Yeah, you've asked two hard questions so far.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. What's our RS for each? Component. Wireframe components. And then we do component dot, I should just call nothing sub mesh. Nothing should be called component. That's far too annoying.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to be super pedantic about it, they're not components. They're children. They're objects.
I like it.
Or for child of
yeah.
wireframe children or something like that. Mesh renderer is probably the name of the, or is it renderer? Okay, renderer.
Well,
cool.
This guy, I mean,
that's fine.
Okay, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
That's gonna be right. Yeah. Because mesh renderer would make sense to me. I wonder if it's the generic interface for that.
Right.
And then renderer.material.set color. All right, so is that going to make our stuff red? Let's find out. I also check out the amazing wireframe share because I was annoyed that things were just taking a while to compile. I figured it would.
Right.
It would be less stuff to rebuild. Okay, so. Okay, well, they're still blue. Why is that? I am very into calling mesh renderer because that sure seems like the actual component these things have. Okay. Well, it's got the object. Interesting.
What if instead of assigning properties to this, we iterate over the children programmatically?
Oh, sure. Yeah, like the children of whatever the instance is.
Yeah. So if we do, for each var child in game object dot children, is there such a thing?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look in.
You can get component in children. That's interesting. can I ask for? Because there's also get components in children. I wonder if I can ask for every instance of a mesh renderer. That'd be nice. Well, that is clever. Works recursively. This is going to return the mesh renderer for the other thing, but that's okay. Oh, it doesn't even need game object. Great.
It's weird. You can iterate over.
Yeah.
I think the transform is the actual parent. Are you getting this?
The transform is the actual parent. Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. Why is that?
I don't understand. I'm reading a Stack Overflow answer from 4 years ago, and the way that they're iterating over the children is they are saying for each transform child in transform. So it's like the transform for some reason is the container of the actual container of the children. I think get components in children maybe will work, but we need to do it recursively as well.
It
works recursively. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to you while I was reading docs.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, this one seems to be all about what we want.
Yeah, you just need to make it a function call. Put parentheses at the end of that.
Oh shit, that's what I did wrong. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can remove this weird typing. Nope. Yes. Yes. Great. And then I was going to see if child render.material dot is color. I mean, color. I guess that's all we got. Yeah, that seems right.
This is going to set it on the solids, the sides as well as the edges, right? But as long as we
it will
baby step our way there, it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say this'll. I'm happy if we get a pure red turret out of this.
That's sort of working. Doesn't it look like?
It absolutely does. And I think, okay, so the material, we've got our albedo. I'm not sure this one actually matters at all as much as the emission color, because the emission color is what's actually glowing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so child render dot material dot set. Now, how do we set that?
I wonder. Yeah, it's just too bad there's no correlation between the values.
Oh, is it? We're setting a color variable.
Yeah, color is the type. Yeah, I think set color. It's saying set. It's saying like the second argument of this function will be a color type. And then the actual property name we're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's see. Material, unity, material, emission, color.
Property name.
Property name.
Oh.
Interesting. This is going to be emission color. Could have guessed that, yeah.
Well, albedo doesn't help, does it? I don't know. Is it like is there a way to know from this?
I think this will look good. Yeah. My thought is that our albedo should be white, and then we are setting the emission color at runtime.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Because the black materials have no interesting. It's worse.
It looks pretty good, actually, right?
It's lost its glow, which
Well, that's
is
because red is not intense enough, right? We need to actually
mm,
intensify it almost to HDR levels, right?
that's right. That's right. We need a more intense version.
So how do we
That's
create a color? We
how.
can just do like new color with. Oh, there's. This is why we want to use Unity. Is like you can Google your question and there's an answer there.
It's
Right.
pretty great. Here you go. It's that you set the properties over one.
Yep.
Laser red.
That's all
And
HDR is. There's no magic until you tone
that's
map.
that's wild. Okay, so if we drop laser red in here. Huh. All right, all right. We're learning some Unity.
Yep, we are.
It's a nice cold laptop. Good.
Love it. Love it.
Here. I regret buying the thing without a fan. So is laser red enough?
I
I'm
don't
not
think it's
sure.
laser red enough. What did you choose for wireframe red glow originally? What are the values there? I think it's
I mean,
multiplying it by 5, right? I think that's what that intensity is doing.
so it's 191 over 255 times 5.
Yeah,
I'll buy that.
just that's a
That's our
4.
red. Sure, absolutely. Pure red 4.0 F.
And I'm also curious to know if you increase that number, does it make the bloom larger, or there's a certain upper bound because the kernel that the fragment shader is going to look at is probably going to not try to look too far out. Oh my god, that's awesome.
You can bloom even further, yeah.
At 10, maybe
Um,
it's like a 10 pixel radius, right? That it's looking in, probably.
oh, I wonder, yeah.
Yeah.
That is looking a lot better. It's interesting. It's still not glowing. That's so bizarre.
Hmm. What if we set it to 10? Let's just crank it all the way to the max.
Yeah, let me switch to the thing where we only set um oh
Are
you
we still iterating
you're
over the wireframe children?
no, we're not. We're not. We're iterating over everything, which is making me wonder. We're setting the emission color on this, though. To be fair, that really shouldn't do anything. Our black should be fairly unseeming.
Yep.
Huh. Making this non-metallic awful. All right. So if I dive into this turret, this answers a question. Black is an instance. That's cool. Wireframe blue go instance.
Cool.
Neat. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then we can actually peek at what's going on here. So the intensity actually it didn't get bumped. It didn't get bumped all the way. It was only in the 2s.
Can we
So that's
set
something.
the intensity on the material, or is it just the color?
That is a good question. Real quick, I wanted to look at the black instance of material and see what that was. Yeah, so there's no. Okay. I think we just need more intensity. Boom. Should have gone to the second one. Oh, is intensity a okay.
I think intensity
Cool.
might be an accessor, like a mutator on the color object itself. So we could probably do color.intensity equals something, and it'll modify the.
Oh, well, this just says that it's not. We did a straight multiplication, but it wants it to be a
Power of 2.
power of
I
two.
see.
Power of 2, yeah. So what
So
is
it's 2 to the 4th 16 then.
You got it.
Everything's got to be logarithmic just to fuck with you. That looks good.
Yeah, that looks pretty close actually. I mean, it doesn't have the same delightful glow of the player.
What's the player's intensity?
Good question. I was about to see what this is first on the wireframe. Okay, yeah, that intensity is up there at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 to the 6, so we can crank that up to 32.
Sure. And if I switch this over to wireframe glow, oops, those are assets. Do we not show up in search anymore? Is that what's happening? I'm just gonna take the red one, drop it on there. It's actually, it also doesn't glow that much. So I wonder, does the albedo color actually doing much here? It's really not. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at the shader actually to know what the relationship between the albedo is to the emission color. I mean, where's our main scene light? And does it even matter if everything is emissive? You know?
Yeah, I don't think the light is doing anything. I'll delete it. I think we are pretty unlit from that sucker at least.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. So albedo is doing nothing, right?
Yeah, and hey, this looks great.
Oh, it's lighting our bullets because our bullets don't have the wireframe.
Oh, okay.
Which is just as well because our bullets should be.
They should be lit. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I like that. So I am going to give the turret prefab the white glow.
To make it neutral.
Yeah, I was gonna say every wireframe can just use white and then modify. Yeah, and that'll be that.
Okay. Does it help level editing to give them a particular color initially? It's really more about their affiliation than anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd probably want, if there's a way to set the affiliation of a turret initially, and then we'd have to do some editor level changes to change the colors. But that's not a big deal. I think that's a quality of life improvement. I think white is fine for now.
Yeah, that is super interesting though. But let me throw this on the player real quick too, and then
okay.
Yeah, it would be nice to go.
Everybody is white. We're fulfilling a eugenicist something.
Taking it to the dark place. Ooh,
yeah.
Someone should go in and fix this strange edge. I bet that'll be a lot of fun.
It looks like maybe some of the verts got twisted.
Yeah, I think so. By the way, I had a lot of fun doing the tree.
Okay.
What I did was I went in and just for about half of the edges, picked collapse edge.
Yeah.
So I straightened out some of them, but now it was like a line on every joint all the way around. Now it just basically picks some lines and then did the wireframe.
Yeah, it looks good. You can also reduce the subdivision on the bulbs to get fewer polys on them, on like the actual leaves.
Yeah, these, they're almost in the sweet spot for me, to be honest.
Okay.
They've got kind of a cool aesthetic going. Cool. All right, so our players should be white and glowy and the tertiary red. Yep. Looks good. And they have a little of that aberration. So what is there? Do we have a constants file? Is that a thing?
We could do that. Just make a script, make everything public static, It's just a
Okay.
class. I think actually you can make a namespace that has statics in it. Let me see.
Mm.
And of course, it's going to be I mean, like if we don't want to be too clever about it, let's just make a class.
Yep. That seems fine. Right. Just a model behavior.
It doesn't even have to be on a behavior if it's just constants. We're not going to instantiate this, right?
Yeah. That's nice. Good point. Good point. Static red. No. Color red. I guess like should we call this like HDR red?
Uh, sure. Yeah.
We, oh gosh, colors is also probably not a great name for this because
H.
that's very close.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. We could just call it constants or something like that. Yeah.
Game colors,
Game
constants.
colors.
I
That's
like
fine. Yep.
constants. HDR blue, and those are our two teams.
Okay. And then I think you capitalize the O in colors.
Yep, sure did.
Is this
Sure did.
showing up right now in the project file? We'll see. We'll see if you can actually reference these. We'll see what happens here.
That is a great question. Oh, I should rename this to game colors too, right? I don't know. Does this care what the class, what the file
I
is
don't think
named?
it cares.
Okay.
What it cares about though is if you open the CS proj, like the assembly CS proj, yeah, there you go. If you search for game colors, it's probably not going to be in there.
Yep, that's true. Should I?
Yeah, and then you might want to do the rebuild then. Just go to project settings and then this ridiculous thing.
It's not project settings. It's settings.
It's actually preferences. It's the
for some reason,
stupidest
yeah.
thing ever. You know what we should do is we should sell a Unity plugin that makes this a button in the UI.
We'd be so people would love us. So I was gonna say I don't think this works because I needed to. Oh, it showed up.
Yep.
I'm full of shit. That's great. Nice, nice, cool. All compiler errors must be fixed. Oh, I'm not. I need to using Unity probably.
Yeah. Maybe even using Unity engine. What are the other files doing?
Oh, yes, indeed. Beautiful.
It kind of bugs me that you can't just have functions and constants. It has to be like in a class. It's like a Java thing, right?
It's not my favorite, yeah. That's red. Cool.
Awesome.
That is awesome. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to think. What is the Unity way to do this? Would be to like, should we make a script that is team, like a new component, and you can attach it to.
That's very affiliation. Interesting.
Yeah. So does that sound? I mean, that seems like worth following, right?
Yeah, I wonder if initialization order starts to get a little bit confusing. Like, can you change a material color in an awake if the mesh render itself hasn't been awaked?
I wonder what happens when you call get component on yourself in awake, though. I wonder if it goes and runs the other awake. And it's not really an awake because we're only going to be setting properties on it. Like we're going to have a public piece of data that I think will be there before awake. I do see the initialization problem. I think we can get away with it for this. Public.
Maybe we can make an enum called team or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right, I did that on the.
Or let's just make it an integer. Let's not be too fucking clever here.
Nah, I'm gonna go enum just
Okay.
because
It needs to
I
be in
like
the
that you have the
class,
drop
I
down.
think. You can't just have the enum hang out up there.
That is incorrect. It worked for the debug mode. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Search me. Team red, team blue. And then public team. Yeah, maybe it's accessible. Would it have been affiliation dot team if I put it in the class?
I don't know. How can we refer to team outside of this file?
Yeah, you totally can because the debug setup debug mode is just available everywhere.
Oh, that's cool.
Once I guess it's like once it's imported, it's just in the this actually supports my question, or this already answers my question of does it care what the file is named? Because clearly it just doesn't. Which works for me. Alrighty, so if we go into our turrets, I guess do we want like a none? Is that a useful team? Neutral?
I don't think you should have an affiliation if you. Well, I don't know. Like,
If there's like capturing, maybe things could go through a neutral state, but
oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
yeah. Alrighty. Give me this turret. Alright, the turret script. No.
I think you have to go to add component.
Really? Yeah, you're right. Cool, because I was going to make the prefab neutral.
Yeah.
Because what we want to set is the affiliation of these three turrets. Team red. Oh, I didn't actually connect it in the turret script. Oh man, you know what? Shit. This is fine. This can just go here. Doesn't actually need to be in the turret script at all.
Do you think affiliation will change for an object?
It could.
So we could do on the update. We could have a dirty flag. And a function that is like a set affiliation or something like that. And eventually this is going to need to be like a server sync var, right? I think.
Yeah. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Set affiliation, and then this will be team.
Yeah.
Team. This will be set affiliation team. This is to do.
And then I think we want to do this. Don't we want to do team equals team on set affiliation?
On set affiliation. Oh, I was thinking this only updates the color, and you.
Okay, then let's call the function just set color.
Okay. Yep. Boom, I'm with you. And then let's see. I was going to switch to our color equals color dot white. Switch on team. Case team red. And this is color equals game colors .htr red.
Yeah.
wish you could do assignment from the return of the thing. I do miss that from Ruby.
JavaScript is going to get it soon.
Is it really? Can I do assignments from ifs and switches in JavaScript?
If you Google match, JavaScript match statement or match expression.
What the fuck?
TC39 proposal pattern matching. Yeah, the guy I work with is like one of the maintainers for this.
No shit. That's cool.
Yeah, but part of this is that the match statement is going to be an expression semantics, which is unbelievably cool. There's a lot that's good about this. It's supposed to replace switch in every single capacity.
Holy shit. Oh, I love it.
It's got destructuring as well, which is nice.
This is really, really good. Oh my god, I've been craving something like this.
Yeah.
So cool. This is bringing in like super modern language pattern matching. Into JavaScript. Oh, hell
basically,
yeah.
What do we think of? We think of Rust, OCaml.
Rust Switch does this, has a very good version of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All the MLs have this. Haskell, I think.
So wait, can you do you can do assignment from the match?
You can.
That was up here, I guess.
The match can be on the right hand side of an equal sign. Yeah.
God damn, that's amazing. Okay. Well, I look forward to using this in JavaScript someday. Oh, it's one of Kat's ones. Cool.
Yeah. Do you know this person?
Kat Marchand, they were a big NPM person. They're super JavaScript community person. I just follow them on Twitter. Is this your Microsoft compatriot?
Wait, no, Mark Cohen is my my colleague. Yeah.
Nice. Boy, I know I thought Slack was owned by Microsoft and not Salesforce for a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay. They are our enemy. It's cool.
I would say pick your megacorp, right? Yeah. Very, very Ascent. Cool. Great.
And then can we make set color a private? Because I don't think you'd be calling this externally, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there will be some public function that's called affiliate that like sets the team.
Yep.
In fact, sorry, can we go back to the source code? I just had an idea. Maybe set color should not take an argument.
Oh, okay.
And just do like call it update color or something like that. Yeah. I think this makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, because then you call this without arguments, but you call affiliate somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sure. Digging it. Yeah, I don't know why. When I did the don't destroy or unload component, I was just like, every behavior can be a component. It like starts.
There's going to be the pendulum will swing the other direction, and then there's going to be a great consolidation at some point.
You think so? Okay.
I don't know. This looks really good.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
Let's give the player prefab a thing. Player, you get an affiliation. You're neutral. Okay. Here's a fun one.
Yeah.
Can we have our network manager choose what team to give the player? There's a thing for this. I think we can have a callback. Manager mirror.
Oh, because I mean, doesn't the network manager has to have a notion of teams though, right?
Possibly. I mean, I think we are able to spawn management. So auto create is maybe not what we want.
What does team mean to you? Can two players be on the same team?
I think if we only have two teams, I think yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're like 8-player and there's 8 teams, then I think no. But if it's 8-player multiplayer and 2 teams, sure.
I would be surprised if there was a notion of teams in Mirror, but who knows?
Oh no, I don't think there is. I think if we disable auto create player, I think we get to choose property. We get to manage like mod two, pick a team
Oh, I
ourselves.
see. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing that mirrors should know about. There we go. Custom character spawn in. Boom. You extend network manager. Oh boy. Okay. Do you think we should go down this path? We do want each player to be a different team, right? Or
Um,
is it one team against the enemy team? Because that we could do. I
I
think
think
it's fun
it's
to have two
more one.
teams.
I think it's more who. How does the automated targeting work? Is the real question, right? And so
Mm,
we probably want a situation where two players can be on the same team. Their
mhm,
turrets don't target each other,
mhm.
but other turrets target them equally, right?
Yep. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is.
And whether there's multiple teams or not that fight against each other is up to the lobby.
I
And I
think
think
that's
we have
right.
to
Yeah.
invent that notion ourselves,
Cool.
just as we've invented
Yeah.
the notion of teams in the first place.
Yep. So that's interesting. We just create a network message to describe. So this is like sort of adding a new payload format. That's neat. I'm done with that. So let's see. We will have to. All right, we have to subclass. Oh shit! You know what? I should add scripts over here, so I don't have to rebuild shit.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, solve that problem. Let's see. Team network manager and why beach ball? Okay.
I never quite appreciated the criticisms about object-oriented programming until I've like I sort of appreciate them in a much finer way ever since I've been doing Unity, because Unity is so dead set object oriented. Sometimes you just want like a piece of functionality somewhere, and you're like, where do I put this?
It's absolutely the most object-oriented thing I've ever done. Yeah.
Yes, even relative to like iOS programming.
Yeah, you can kind of just write a script for that sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, unfortunately.
So I think the result of that is I've had a strong temptation to create lots of singletons where I put like common business logic when I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing Unity, and I've like created and deleted them multiple times. It's one of those things.
Yeah, and it doesn't handle that very well, does it? It like makes that actively challenging.
Yeah, and the initialization orders thing too is like it's so dead set that like everything is like just kind of coexisting and getting updated at the same time that they don't let you say like this gets done before that, which seems like a pretty important piece of information if you're trying to be precise about things.
Yeah.
You can actually do
Uh,
component update order. I think it's like a project level setting though. It's weird.
oh, like you can actually specify which scripts await like do their updates before others and probably awaken other stuff too.
Yes. And it's not clear to me whether it is like striated across all game objects or it's within the same game object. Like when I say it's striated, that was like when we were doing ECS, like all of the shooters updated, and then all of the turrets updated, and then all of the damageables updated, right? Like I don't know if Unity does that or if it does goes game object by game object and sorts the components by their priority score.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And it's global for the project, so which probably makes sense. So you're saying like component X always updates before component Y.
That seems like at least like it solves some of our problems if we can plan around that. So that's nice. Prefab wall. Nope, can't have prefab wall twice. Prefab turret and prefab bullet. The problem I've encountered multiple times when doing this is that you have to reinstantiate this shit every time.
Yeah.
You can't change the subclass. So now we have our own subclass, and we'll just live with that.
I would love for there to be a way to do this stuff in code, because I think selecting in the editor is really dumb.
So we can register prefabs at runtime, so we can take some of this out and probably some of this out. I think managing this list is past 3 is going to be nonsense. So
there's like a way to. I found one technique that like lets you load resources from the assets folder like off the file system, but I was never able to get it to work.
Interesting.
So all of the things that you're doing right now seem super heavyweight.
So I should have copied this in here because I think it looks like less code when it's not in that tiny box. We're just handling this message, which is a team network message.
Okay, and
then we instantiate the player prefab, and then here.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's
where we call it.
Okay, that's fine.
We call affiliate. Yeah, it's gonna be great. This one I'm on client connect. I'm unsure how we pick our team here. That's kind of getting me.
Well, you need some what do you want to do up front at a high level? Do you want to assign different players to different teams, or do you want to randomize it, or?
I was gonna do maybe round robin through our number of teams, which are 2 right now.
Okay. So I think you need some state that says what you're currently on, and then have a thing that increments. Because I think on create characters probably is that running on the server or is it running on the client?
That's a really good question. I think let me write the sync bars or properties. Oh, affiliation needs to be a sync bar, doesn't it?
It's probably needs to be in network behavior, this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that's. Holy shit, I am not asking you to autocomplete.
So here's a pro tip. Do Command Shift X. Do you have Unity snippets installed?
I do.
Just delete it.
Okay.
Seriously, I could not get past that, the thing that you were just doing.
Great.
It was like inserting full snippets when I just needed to autocomplete the identifier, and it just... I was like ready to post in the C#.
That's really funny.
The C# or Unity Discord saying like, is there a way I can not do this, you know? And then I realized it was that extension. Yeah, worse than useless.
Okay, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Team, new team, and then what's that team? Team update color. And then over here, we were going to say player affiliation. Affiliation. And this is player affiliation dot set team. Message dot team. Okay, so Is there? Do I need to make this non-nullable somehow? Does it need a default? No.
What's the complaint again?
Let me set this real quick. Two team equals team red.
Yep.
One complaint, team network creation message must be a non-nullable value type.
Does it know about team network? If you control R on team network, or sorry, if you go to definition on that, okay, so it knows it's there.
Yeah. And then the send, same thing. Huh.
Yeah, I don't really see the complaint there.
Yeah, let me compile this real quick and see if there's actually a compiler error. There is. Okay. Yeah, it's not happy about that.
Does it need to extend network message?
It does
Okay, it
do
already
that.
does.
It's the mirror network message. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, public struct. It's not class.
Sure.
Guess that's it. That looks better already. Sweet.
So what's Roslyn complaining about, or what's OmniSharp complaining about right now? Same thing.
Yeah, I bet if I reloaded this, it would just come back to me.
Yeah. Gosh.
Well, all this in the service of I think every player that comes in now will be
Laser blue.
laser blue. Isn't that, I really like that. Do you want to save? I mean, you don't have to. Yes, I really would like to.
Maybe cancel that getting code actions.
This one. Oh God, can I kill this? Oh, it eventually figured it out. Okay.
Cool.
I paid the price of reloading. The CPUs are going. All right. Well, fingers crossed. I really hope my player gets created because I just wrote a bunch of code blinds. That's not what I wanted to see. Oh, that's. Let's see. I think since I recreated some stuff, I might not have connected the network manager. Yeah. As for a moment, this thing did not have the right component type on it.
Nice. I like the laser blue
right.
as well.
I do. It's the wrong blue. I mean, I'm bringing back cyan. It's cyan part in here.
So you want laser cyan?
I do want laser cyan. Yeah.
Cyan is equal parts green and blue, so.
I guess so. Okay, it's very, very, very intense. It's like 28, half of each.
I love this attention to detail here. It's the kind that it's of the sort that's going to make this game great.
I mean, you know I'm meticulous when I'm trying to be, and I have a great time doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the shit. That looks great. Cool. Okay. I'm super happy with that. So if we both connect, we'll both be red.
Yeah.
We'll both be blue.
I'm in. Yeah.
We'll get there. I think we should try some team multiplayer on Thursday.
Okay, that sounds good.
I'm curious. I want to learn more about this on client connect. because I feel like this is actually going to be really, really important to us understanding
Yeah.
the network behavior here. When the client starts, okay. It's so
Does
weird
that
to me
mean
that
that it
like,
doesn't set the affiliation on the server?
correct, because we're sending a creation message.
But the server has a copy of the object, right?
No, so this gets sent. So this the client connects, sends a message to the server. The server does not even instantiate the player prefab until it receives this message. This is like the, hey, I'm here, make me a player.
Oh, I see what's going on. And
Yeah. What's
oh, and
kind
but the
of
fact
fun,
that it's a sync var is what gets the variable out down to the clients, is what you're saying.
this probably isn't necessary. Changing it, well, I guess since we change it right here, I bet if I took out the sync var, we can try this later, but I bet this does not need to be network behavior.
Okay.
But changing teams might need to be network behavior. Maybe that's a
I
way
think
to
that's
do
fine.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no
And
reason
so
to
what
take
is
it out.
interesting is if the team changes as a sync var, we need the side effect of that to run on the client, which means I think we might need a callback, actually. I think sync var, maybe there's even a callback on the attribute itself. Like sync var might have a also call this function when the value changes kind of thing.
Is it? But oh, I see. Should we make it private? Oh no, we can't make it private. Yeah, we can. We can because then you just have to call set team, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
the
then the
thing is,
side
set
effect
team is
runs.
not getting called when the server changes that value,
Oh shit! I
right?
see. Yeah.
So I bet sync var has a little extra variable on the sync var attribute because you can assign like extra shit. You can have properties on your attributes. I bet there's a way of saying also call this function when this value changes on the server.
Mm, there's a hook. Oh my god. What?
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
I mean, this library is all about convenience, I think.
It's pretty convenient. So is it,
Name of.
the syntax is really strange.
It's
And
all
then
the C# attribute language, I think. Set team.
so
Oh, you're saying
set,
sync team.
well, so do we call set team? We don't. What if we did this? And then this can be private. Because we need team old team and team new team. This is a like component data update
Yes.
style thing.
And if they don't equal each other, we change the color. Or we need to change the color anyways, right? So probably we just do underscore there. We don't care.
Is that, do we not?
What's it complaining about?
I mean, that's unused.
Forget about it. Like we can. I think we should just silence it using. Is there a autofix silence? No. There's probably a way to silence.
Surprise. Yeah, we could check it, but I'm just gonna leave this like this. We'll find it later. This update one needs to be.
You can just delete the update. It doesn't do anything.
Oh, I guess not, since we have a full.
Yep.
This is the whole side effect. Nice. Yep. Cool.
And there will just be some logic on the server side that will set the team to whatever we need it to be.
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah. Let's make sure that still works.
Yeah. I'm curious.
This is interesting because we're using technically it's not a thing that gets synced because we haven't even sent it across the network yet. But
there's a client on the server. In mirror parlance, they call it the host. The host is both the server and the client at the same time. They share state between the server and the client, but I think the messages still get passed from server to client.
Okay. So I really wanted to know is, well, first I wanted to actually, what I would like to know is what I know about the connection on the client side. Like, does it tell me what player I am, for instance? Because that would be helpful.
I think the player knows. There's at least a local player.
But do I know that? Do I know that in on client connect? Like this feels like a strange context to me.
I think on client connect only runs on the server.
Uh, so I think we this distracted me earlier, but that's what's fucking me up. Is I think this is server, this is client, and this is server again. Because this is where the client is sending customization into the server, like picking a team. Like if there was a team color UI, I would connect and select this data before I sent it. Like this, I'm pretty sure on Client Connect runs.
Yeah.
Oh, but I see what you're saying in that.
Well, the client shouldn't make this choice, right?
The client could pick its team.
Okay. I mean,
that would be like a lobby operation.
Kind of.
This,
It would be more
this,
like
this
the
really
lobby.
pitched for like.
You would think that the lobby would just send choices to the server, and then the server would set everything up, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. I think this is the choice sending though, because we make a packet and we're sending it over the connection. I think this is the act of choice sending. So,
but the choice isn't just that you want to be like. It's not an instantaneous thing, right? You're going to choose to be on a team, and you're just going to update the UI, and it's going to update the UI for everybody, right? You're going to see DOM in column A as opposed to column B. So the server will know ahead of time what the choice was, right? I'm just extrapolating into the future when you actually have a lobby UI.
Yeah, right.
Does what I said make sense? Like you like all of the meaningful choices for character creation will be like visible to everybody before the actual character gets instantiated. But that's actually further along than what we need. So what you're doing now is fine. But I think at some point it's going to change. And I've actually been thinking about this a little bit. I do wonder if eventually the notion of the player connecting is not going to be attached to the tank anymore, right? The player will just be like ambiently in the game, and they happen to also control a tank, right?
I think as we move more toward, like, I think we have to model our own lobby now, which actually might remove some of this and some of this, and actually like we have a start server client connect, and then we have like some sync before everyone's ready, and we have like a ready state we manage before the game starts.
Right. So maybe the thing that like the client would send in that function we just wrote would be things like your name, right? Stuff that would be legitimately chosen purely on the client side, right?
Cool. Okay.
Anyways.
It's wild. Yeah. Cool. Replace player. That's fun. This is good. This feels like great progress.
This is really cool.
Yeah, I think we'll still need this. I think the shape might change. I think you're right. And then we got teams, and we can make turrets aim at them later. Delightful.
Fantastic.
Man, Unity makes 2 hours go really fast. I totally lost like 5 hours yesterday just during the hurricane. It was wonderful.
So tell me about the hurricane again. Like when did it actually make landfall?
It landed
degraded down to tropical storm thing.
Yeah, so they managed to avoid the no hurricane has hit New England in 30 years. Technically, this didn't either.
Okay.
So the streak is alive. Global hasn't won yet, but yeah, like it was aimed at my house, and then it took a right turn and aimed at Rhode Island, and they got kind of fucked. Providence, I hear, did not have a good time. It's like 100,000 people without power. I'm sure it'll be back in a couple of days.
Okay. I'm just laughing because I love this, like, implied New England like neighborhood like feud, the Hatfields
Oh
and the
yeah.
McCoys kind of thing. Like fuck the Rhode Islanders.
Well, I mean, like for real though, like for all the spots you could name in the country, that's a tiny one.
Yeah, it's the smallest state in the union.
Precision aiming is what this storm had.
What is your new house's flood threat or flood risk?
0. I'm on a hill.
Oh yeah, amazing.
I'm well outside of any.
Should I just move to the house next to yours? This is sounding better and better.
It's for sale. I'll send you a Zillow later.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and there's a pool in the basement too.
What?
It's nice. I'll send you the Zillow when we're not streaming my house location.
I think pillow like pools in the basement is like I need to hire people. Like that's like the level of house it is.
I mean, I feel like that is the house. I gotta hire people right now anyway. Like I need an HVAC person. I need a handy person and an electrician.
Contractors that you're not like you don't have like full-time like on-premises people that like live there and are your
That's true.
servants.
I have not hired a pool boy. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yet.
That's a good
But when
point.
Ren Devil is Game of the Year in 2025, you never know, right?
I mean, I'd be really into that.
That cash will go straight to your ego. It's just like the opiates zooming in 3D through your synapses, you know?
Yeah, being a landlord is a disease. So
Yeah.
got me there. Do we have teams? We do have better turret AIs. We sort of were looking. I'm just gonna drag these up since we did a little thinking about it. Yeah, this one I started and did some of the debug stuff and some of this, but it's not all there yet. So
Yeah.
I may relinquish it. I may do something else with it.
I think saying lobby is probably super ambiguous for that ticket. Like, there's different kinds of lobbies. A fully featured lobby would be like a month-long project.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think the don't load until you type your name and or set it up for 1, 2, or 3 players is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
We can make that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I might take my face off and put this lower down the list now that we have the debug mode and the better network stack. So TBD. Well, happy Monday. Next Thursday I'll have my real camera and my Blue Yeti. No more Bluetooth.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I listened to the recording of myself and I was aghast. It's so bad. I'm so sorry.
That bad. You were still legible, as it were.
Legible, but man, I missed the good audio quality.
Okay. Yeah. You should celebrate and go all the way and get like one of those like $2,000 professional broadcast mics.
No, there's a perfectly functional mic on my truck. It was only $100.
Okay. Yeah.
I could have bought that.
We got to stay lean, Dom. We don't have the Game of the Year money yet.
No, not yet. Yeah. Someday that GOTY goat money will be ours.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to cancel the stream now.
So don't cancel it.
Well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop this instance of the stream. I'm not going to cancel the whole thing. We still got Thursday.
Okay.
At least Thursday.
At least one more.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Take it easy, Dom.
See ya.